Hey, welcome and thank you for joining us today for Electronic Security and Door Hardware Tech Talk Part Duh. It's a Sage type of TED Talk, but with our spin on it, it's now a Tech Talk. And Tech Talk is a collaboration between Sage and Tazergy. It's the senior living technology version of what you've perhaps seen as TED Talks. Let's have a few introductions. Matt, you want to get us started and tell us about yourself?
Sure. Hi, Matt Haywood, CEO of Tazergy. Tazergy is a senior living focused technology services firm.
And
Andy.
Andy.
Andy Coelho with Sunrise Senior Living. I work with our new development team on designing and building new construction for assisted living and memory care communities that we operate. And I also work with the team that does the CapEx renovation work for our existing communities in our portfolio. Thanks for having me.
Where are you calling in from?
I'm in Tysons Corner, Virginia. There's the snow behind me, and right outside Washington, D.C.
Wonderful, thank you. I'm Jill Schroeder, and I'm the current Sage president. I'm happy to be hosting this on behalf of Sage and Tazergy. I'm a senior architectural planner and senior interior designer with Pope Design Group. It's an architectural firm out of St. Paul, Minnesota, where it is also snowy and 2 degrees outside. I volunteer my time with this organization as a commitment to bring all of you relevant content to help better our design for aging community. It means a lot to me. For those of you not familiar with SAGE, we are the Society for the Advancement of Gerontological Environments. It's a membership-based organization representing and promoting the collaboration between all disciplines of the senior living industry. So careful planning of educational content presented by Mr. Matt Haywood. And he also is a member of SAGE. Rah, rah to you, Matt, exactly. Hopefully gives you the insight into a topic, or with any luck, maybe you learn something new. So we want to get started on this. And if you felt that you've learned anything after today's Tech Talk or what, just visit our website and check out our other Tech Talks and watch them at what rapid speed, Matt, did you suggest? Or
Yeah, fast. 1.5, 1.75. Why cut out all that extra space?
I
Yeah.
love it. Well, let's get started. Electronic security and door hardware is our topic. And if you have any questions during our 30 minutes here, type them in at any time and we'll ask them. So just click on the Q&A button at the upper part of your screen. So, all right, Matt, tell us what we talked about last time, if you
I
want.
thought it would be great to do a recap. Exactly.
Yep.
We had Charlie Jennings on, and we did roll out the therapy couch for him a little bit, and I thought that was amazing. What we talked about, he shared about challenges with the AHJ code. How do we update a code? How do we update the code to better serve senior living? He talked about how to create a standard. We also talked about front end coordination, and we also touched on trades and new players to future projects, how to manage the confusion. Um, and just as a reminder to wrap up, like that discussion, we talked about perfecting the design process to generate a more comprehensive set of documents and helping manage the buyout and installation process at a GC level. And
all of that was so well received, which is why you all as listeners wanted to hear more about Matt's perspective and Charlie's perspective on the store hardware, which is why now we thought it'd be great to bring in Andy from Sunrise to kind of give another operator's perspective.
absolutely. Andy, the reason why we wanted to invite you on is one, because of your unique role and background. People may or may not know you are an architect by trade, by design, by schooling, right? And then you've been leading the Sunrise initiative and effort from a development, design, and even I think facilities standpoint, right? For we won't say how many years, but more than 5.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're all young. And I just thought from a can you speak to maybe the standard standpoint? Like what do you guys do? How do you help drive your team? How do you define the standard and what are some of the things that you found have worked and maybe some things that you're working on?
So that we're very fortunate because we have so many operating communities in our portfolio that the best way that we proceed is with feedback. So I'm constantly hearing from the field through our network of operators, but also even from the facilities professionals that work on my team. They're saying, hey, the next time you build a building, please make sure to do this and don't do that. And this is so frustrating. And we don't like when this are. So we're getting lots of real good feedback all the time. And we keep that list, we keep that going. And so each building we build, we're trying to say, let's not make that mistake again. So that's one thing I would maybe recommend, even if you're only an operator of a very small group of communities, get the feedback from your existing buildings on what's working and what's not working. That's one thing I'd say works really, really well. And the second thing is to start planning early on. So for a new building, or any project that you're starting, I think it's never too early to start thinking about the door security strategy. And you can even get on your operators and your facilities professionals, but the actual operators who are responsible for who are going to run that building, and walk through the floor plan on paper in the office or on Zoom on the screen, and talk about every single door. It can be a long call. It's a lot of work, especially in the beginning, because you have to say, well, let's do this to this door, let's do this to this door. And then you can start to repeat as you get it. Oh, that door is the same as the one we decided to do over there. So just copy that door. But starting that process, sorry, Jill, I see you're going to try
No,
to help me.
that came up last time. So I
Yeah.
love that you're talking about it now, because when you say start it early, I think it's important for everyone to hear, when do you like to start it? SD, DD?
Yeah,
I
early on,
mean,
I'd say pretty soon. Maybe SD's a little early because SD we're still figuring out. Are the suites going here? Is the room there? But I'd say right after SD, right as it's very early DD. Even if the doors don't have their door
there you
tags
go.
yet,
That's good to
I
know. That
still encourage my team, and I think that it's be a good lesson that I would share with others, is get this team together, the operators, the facilities professionals, your architect, your low voltage consultant like Taz or G, get a Zoom call going and move the mouse around the floor plan and stop at every door. Again, even without door tags, say this
Yeah.
door, oh, this is a stair door. Do we want that locked from the outside 24/7? Do we want it to be able to free passage from the outside? And you're going to have to overlay how you want the door to behave, meaning like what hours. Let's during the daytime hours when the concierge is on duty, it's fine for that door to be free passage. This door we want locked from the outside 100% of the time so bad guys don't come in through that side. Like talk
Right.
about every door. But then you got to layer on, and you're probably going to lean on your architect for this a little bit more. Then you have to layer on the code requirements, and that came up in the last call in this series. But you're going to take the behavioral way that your operations team wants the door to act, locked during these hours, free passage during these hours, mag locked, keypad, whatever. Talk about how you want to work, and then have your architect layer in, well, are you going to be allowed to do that or not based on the code? Are there 2 doors in the path of egress that can't be locked? Is your occupancy type allow you to do certain things or not?
Yeah.
So it's a combination, it's a team effort.
But it sounds like you could take care of the majority of door function early on, with the exception of these certain circumstances
For
that
sure.
are
For
going
sure.
to be a specialty for Matt, or to
For sure.
figure out what is happening there. Okay.
One
And I
way that
also think,
we're trying to get to is maybe come up with like a door profile. This is door type A. This is
Yeah.
door type B. This is door type C. And if we all understand what door type A means and what B means and C means, well, now what we have to do is just label, oh, that's an A, that's a
That's an
B.
A,
Those
sure.
2 over there, those are C's.
Yeah.
That's an A.
Matt, you were going to say something?
no, I was going to add to the facts to help kind of eat the elephant one bite at a time. You're going to
Yeah.
have, you know, a, a standard AL community is going to have around 15 to 24, neighborhood perimeter door slabs, right? And as you get to a bigger campus community, that's going to expand. But those, there are some doors that are going to take more of the conversation. So once you get the standard, like Andy was talking about, once
Yeah.
you understand the intent, right? And you real that's the buy-in that Andy is reminding from an operator standpoint, you need your facilities people, you need your
Yeah.
operations people to participate in that conversation. Otherwise, you're having an academic conversation,
Sure.
right? Because we've done this. We've done this on projects where we work with Andy and his team. That absent the operator's participation in that call, we can answer some questions, but at the end of the day, when we run into where neighborhoods might blend up, and Andy, I think you might be able to speak to this as well. How do you marry a building that is like one type, construction type, as it blends to another, right? Like you can, I think an example might be, I-2 to General Assembly, or where you might have a, stick frame coming into a non-combustible. And as you have a memory care that's, fully secured, and how that blends, is there any thoughts
We have
or
that
experiences?
exact challenge right now, Matt. You're talking about a real life example that is right now for me. Like it's a conference call later today, literally. The dining room is the dining room for our assisted living folks. It's not open to the public. Yes, our architect designed it and it got approved as an assembly space because it's a large enough space, whatever, but it's in the confines of our institution, of our I-2 assisted living building. Well, this local building official is having a hard time with that. And so we're going to have some meetings and figure out how to explain that it's not really an assembly space. And we still want to have that door security on that door, and we want to lead egress, et cetera. So those are challenges that we have to work through. Now, that doesn't change my position that early planning, that early discussion of how you want each door to behave, do that. But that's what I meant when you have to have that overlay of code conversation, with it.
Andy
Right.
and Matt, then I'm going to ask this question then. In that specific example, knowing that you might or can foresee really that there might be a conflict of that assembly space versus an I-2, and we're going to have something of in question with that AHJ, are you allowing a contingency percentage to keep rolling forward to be able to deal with something that is unexpected, or what would be a good rule of thumb for people?
Contingency as in money?
Yeah, and time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, I won't say if we do good planning and we think we know, we've been through our building permit, presumably before or around the time we're signing our general contract. I guess what I'm saying is, to be honest, I don't have earmarked contingency dollars specifically for door security. I've got contingency for whoopsies project wide, for all of the.
Okay.
But Andy, for the example that you're facing right now, where is that project in the construction timeline?
Complete. So
and this is
not a good time.
Closeout. No, right. So this is is it the inspector, fire marshal?
Inspector, it's a very weird little jurisdiction. I don't have to go into all the details right now. We're operating, we're fine. We have like an okay plan for now because the building is open and we got residents, but it's an inspection thing came up, and it's a unique example. I think that this is the anomaly. I think that most of our projects, if you design them early, you go in for building permit, you meet with the building inspector, the fire inspector, and they've got a reasonable understanding of door security, then you'll be fine and you can handle it with conversations during construction. In this case, we are able to broker an agreement in a way that we're able to operate for now while this is getting worked out. But yeah.
Right. No, that's helpful. So here's a question topic that we can talk about. We touched on some was elevation, right? An architect carries the scope for elevating a wall, a partition, right? They're in charge of that elevation. So if we were to use the front door as an example, a front door of a senior living community, there are, I mean, when you're looking at the drawings, there's plenty of symbols called out what needs to be there. Right?
Yep.
You've got your fire alarm panel, you've got your handicap automatic push button, you've got your intercom, you've got your access control. What else do we have there? Anything else?
Camera, automatic door opener, wander guard, maybe a phone intercom system of some
Transceiver
sort.
panel. Yeah,
About two sets of
Um,
doors, interior and exterior.
sure.
The
Yep,
way do they
vestibule.
both do they operate together? Do they operate differently? I mean, yeah, I mean,
Right.
Matt, you're touching on a wound or a pain point of ours or something like. I mean, the front door, which we have two sets of double doors at our typical Sunrise in
Sure.
our
Okay.
standard, two sets of double doors. That I mean, I think we just named 10 systems. That one entry has 10 technologies, 10 systems that have to be designed, they have to be worked together, they have to operate together. If you press a button, you want the doors to work, you don't, you gotta, whatever. It'd be a real, and we're getting better and better and better. Oh, by the way, that doesn't even count the door frame and hardware, like the architectural piece of it.
Right.
That's even after we talk about the architectural door frame and hardware part. Now you got to add on the door security, the tech, the camera, the opener, the mag lock, the wanderer, all that on top of it. That's a hard nut to crack. That we want. If someone put that in a package and say, I want that double door package, we would buy it for sure.
Yeah, I think that's one of the conversations that we can discuss here is like what is a better mousetrap? How do we take advantage of the early coordination, the early planning, the early design, right, at that door in particular, right?
Yeah.
Because you talk some about programming, right, and the need to say, hey, what do you want to programmatically? How do you want this to operate? But we also realize and acknowledge that the set of construction docs is not a programming document, right? Like it's not it doesn't necessarily tell the GC what the heating and cooling schedule needs to be programmed in all the T-stats,
Mhm.
right? It doesn't necessarily have in there for this particular electronic locking. It doesn't have in there the programming schedule, right? It
Right.
doesn't necessarily tell that. That's a programming component. And I think the rub here on this front door is if you're putting in an automatic opener, that's going to be sourced by a subcontractor who's going to install that, who might not be the same subcontractor as the access control vendor, who might not be the same subcontractor as the
Right.
door hardware
Right.
subcontractor, who definitely isn't the same subcontractor as the door slab, right?
Yeah. So how do we
Um,
prevent that to become that pain point, like Andy was mentioning, and get them all talking?
Yeah,
And
I
all
would say
that.
just that, like, as soon as you come close, which is what we've done a few times, as soon as we come close,
Yeah.
we found our best project where it really kind of all came together pretty darn close. And none of them have been perfect.
Yeah.
They've always been like, oh crap, now we have to go back and get another vendor to come back out and add a new feed or whatever. But as soon as you get close, I would say keep track of what worked
Mhm.
and write that down and try to do that again. Try to specify that again. It's hard if you were to kind of reinvent it each time because it's so many different pieces. So my recommendation is take the project where you got as close as possible. Rely on your architect when the architect did a really good job on one. When Taz had a project that it worked well, and say, what do you recommend? How do you do that
Right.
same thing on our project?
so a way to solve this that I might suggest for the active projects or even future projects would
Mhm.
be leverage your consultants, right? From a low voltage standpoint, I would say during a rough in walk, schedule a specific coordination meeting with it needs to be on site. This can't be a virtual thing, right? And you need to have we do low voltage kickoff meetings for projects that we're project managing or doing
Mhm.
design on to make sure that the GC and the related trades are aware of the plans and specs, right? It's how we communicate to think that everybody sitting at the table has digested every bit of drawing and spec manual is obviously ludicrous and not realistic. So to have this on-site coordination meeting
Yeah.
pre-rock, right? When you've got your mud rings in, when you've got some of that in, have the GC get the trades that are going to be at that door, have your architect, have your low voltage consultant, door hardware, and the sub so that you guys can talk about operationally how this is going to go together.
Mhm.
I think that will then equip the GC and the site
Yeah.
super to better execute that. I don't think that we can put that meeting into a set of documents that somebody's going to follow.
Okay.
You know,
Right.
So-
It's better to just all come to the table and talk, it sounds like.
right, because there's going to be a fire alarm panel that's
Sure.
sitting there, enunciator panel that nobody knew about, right? That's a different set of drawings. So when we're standing there in the space, we find that those are helpful field coordination items to have. Because even if we were to say, architect, do up a detail for the front door and elevate it,
Yeah.
that too is a recipe for gaps and misses, because that would mean that architect then needs to make sure that that elevated detail is given to every design consultant
Mhm.
who is putting a component there, right? And they'd need to call out where that component's going to go in their drawing set.
Yeah. We've got a comment here, and I think I should share that with everyone. It says that it was Ruth Neiman, and thank you, Ruth, for writing that in. As they create something that you just described, Matt, from that meeting. It sounds like they create a schedule, something, I'm guessing it's a PDF that just has a story in plain English.
Mm.
What this door is supposed to do, the daytime
Right.
and nighttime, and they call it the door stories document. To the point, I guess. That's a great
Right.
title, but
We call that the operational intent, a narrative.
okay,
Similar to like what Andy had said, like, hey,
Mhm.
on this door, what is your expectation?
yeah,
Just in like Ruth is saying, in plain language, I expect this door to be locked 24/7. Got it.
Right.
That's simple, right?
expect it to have a camera. I expect credentialing
Yep.
to go in and out for passage. I expect,
Right.
you know, etc. Okay,
Yeah.
Exactly.
That also means somebody needs to read it,
yeah.
right?
Right. There's so many other things to do. That's the problem, is that,
Right.
Yeah,
again,
Yep.
that's a pain point of technology, is that this is lost until
for
later.
sure. Yes.
Okay,
Well, Andy, thank you for that, and
Yeah, yeah.
hopefully for you guys out there that is helpful for understanding that you're not alone in what you face.
Yeah.
Like, this is not an easy
Yeah.
landscape to navigate.
Yep. But that's
What
starting
else?
early, starting early.
Yes.
It's not hard to, it's not, it shouldn't be a reason why you can't start it earlier. Yeah.
I
And it takes time.
love hearing you say that, because it's something that needs to be started earlier, and
Right.
it's just always lost.
Yeah.
Andy, what else comes to mind from your perspective, as an operator, as a door and hardware specific
I have a
part?
question for him specific on that.
Oh, you
unless
do,
Andy
Matt? What is it?
doesn't mind. Yes. Regarding future technology, electronic
Uh-huh.
doors, we've had some conversations around this initiative. Can you share some thoughts about the process that you guys have been going through at Sunrise, and how you innovate regarding door locking and that related technology?
I think I have two tracks of how I'm thinking about answering. One is I'd love to see in the future, and I would love to partner with our architects and with our consultants like Tazergy on new tech that can do what we want to do to make this story, these door
Yeah.
stories or this book, work in less expensive ways, or more modifiable, more flexible ways. Sorry, that door doesn't have power to it, so you can't do a mag lock without calling an electrician in and doing all that. Like, I'd love there to be a future where it's easier to retrofit or change doors without a huge amount of expense or effort, because our operations change, our neighborhoods change, care levels change, whatever. So that's one thing I'd like. The other one, Matt, that comes to my mind to your question is we are switching away from traditional keys to resident suite doors, their entry to their apartments, from a traditional key to a fob, a VIN card, a bracelet, some
Mhm.
electronic way of getting into their suite. And now we thought, well, if that's working to get into the suites, why not have that be every door? Like, let's make every door in the building be with some sort of fob or pass
Mhm.
rather than with a mechanical key. So gone are the days of the grand master and the maintenance coordinator carrying a big chain of keys around that get lost and have to get remade. Let's make every door electronic. We resisted for a while. We thought that our older our seniors were like the security and the feeling, and they were just used to, and might be more cognitively comfortable for them to use a mechanical key. But at this point, even all the seniors that live in our building have stayed at a hotel, likely, that have used a key card. And it's not hard for them to come around to it even otherwise. So that is we're moving toward that in a number of our buildings, and I'm excited to see how every door can be done in an electronic, not maglock. I'm separate from the
Right.
maglock, delayed egress, that world.
Right.
I'm just thinking about like door hardware at the door.
Yeah,
Ah,
and this is the interesting thing to delineate here that I want everybody to understand is when we start talking about electronic locking, right?
mhm,
As Andy laid out, you're going to use that format, that credential for the resident to access their unit, their suite, their room. He's like, well, why wouldn't I want to allow them to get into an amenity area or to get into this community if needed, right? Well, generally, there are two sets of databases. There can be two schools of thought. You've got your battery operated wireless door locks that tend to be those door slabs, right? You're not
mhm,
hardwiring these doors and running wire to all of these and putting electric strike on them that require door power supplies and the like. They're battery operated. So
right.
they generally have a 6 to 12 to 24 month, all depends upon the performance of that locking technology. The other thing to be aware of, people, is that there are two types of wireless locks out there. There are the online locks and the offline locks. The online locks are ones that are actively talking to a head end system all the time, right? The offline locks are not. Those, in order to read the audit trail, you need to walk sneakernet with a reader up to that door slab and download the transaction history and bring it back to a computer and upload that transaction history to that said computer. There is a price difference between those two. Just want to make sure that everybody understands you need to rely upon your consultants and not just talk about the format,
Yeah.
you need to make sure that you get into the details about how it's going to be executed, administrated. As Andy said, hey, gone are the days you do up your key schedule. Your Division 8 guy would create a grandmaster keying schedule. You had your
Mhm.
grandmaster, your maintenance master, your admin master, your right, and all the rest of the keys are keyed according to that. And you better make sure that your maintenance plant ops guy understands that when they get the locksmith out, that they rekey the door according to the right keying schedule. Otherwise, as Andy said, you get a maintenance guy with a big gigantic key ring, right?
So Matt, is that kind of information about which door you want to hold data to go back online or offline? Is that something that you'd want in that door story document that Ruth talked
For
about,
sure.
or that's
For sure,
kind of,
it's
if you
something
know it?
you need in the spec for certain. You need to know that before Andy wants to know that before his project goes to bid, because that is a budget item. You do need to
Right.
know that.
Right,
I
but
would
is that
argue,
something you would know in DD or no?
oh, for sure,
Okay,
you should know that before the project starts. But this is the conversation, the dialogue that Tazergy engages with people like Andy and Sunrise to say, what is it that you intend? And
yeah,
when they say, hey, we want to go electronic locking, we talk through the benefits of online lock versus offline lock.
okay,
And if there can't be any benefits gained from the online lock, then don't spend the money on it. But
right.
I think what we see in senior living is you're going to want to know who went in the room, and you don't want to have to run around and figure that out. Andy, thoughts?
I totally agree. It's about um careful planning and consultants who give you good information.
Yeah,
Matt, just making that distinction, making sure people know the difference between online and offline. You got to know that as a big implication, and you got to get ask those questions and answer those questions early on. You don't want this to be surprised. At the time of pricing, or worse, at
oh,
the time of opening,
right,
that
Yeah,
this is not the system that you were planning on. And you're going to probably blame it on somebody else. You'll probably say, well, you guys never told me. You didn't bring me up to speed. I'm not a door expert. Why would you think that I would have known that? Ask the questions. Hopefully
okay.
your consultants advise you. And yeah, I mean, it's a team effort for sure.
Okay,
yeah.
guys, we're almost at the time, so I'm wondering, you as listeners, should we continue this conversation on door hardware, or is there other topics that you want Matt to cover from his world of technology? Uh,
Well, I will say
anything?
this for sure. The
Yes.
next one we would do a new topic, but if there are additional details that people want on door hardware, I'm happy, as I shared before, to talk more about door hardware. I enjoy the door hardware meetings and the coordination meetings. They are time intensive. But I enjoy the conversation, the dialogue, talking with operators and going through it.
Doesn't look like we're gonna have time to do a survey, but, just a poll. Is there enough time, Lori? I don't think there is 12:30 right now or it's enough time.
Yeah, I think that we can look at the past one and see what, and pick up.
Okay,
topic for the
and pick a
next one.
topic. Okay, guys, real quick, the next Tech Talk, we've set the date to be that leap day, the last day in February, February 29th. And I hope you all
Go
can make it
Sticks.
to that. Yeah. Anything else? Just a reminder, if there is anyone that you feel could benefit from hearing any of this information that Matt and Andy have given us tips on the store hardware, please pass it along to any operators that you feel are having these same kind of issues. Give them the link. You're going to get a copy of the link from today's recording. Pass them the link. It's a free link for them to access on our website, and they can take a look at this and hopefully they can get some tips and good knowledge. And we want you to spread the word too, to get any knowledge on this sensitive topic of tech. Anything else, Matt, you want to add before we leave?
Andy, thank you for joining us, and
Thank you for having me.
Thank you,
appreciate it very
Andy.
much.
Thank you. It was very valuable. Thank you, guys. All right, thanks everyone, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody.